Hey, good morning. Thanks for coming back to the channel. And I'm having my Thursday morning coffee here. Now that the Supreme Court oral arguments are done for the New York Rifle and Pistol Association versus Bruin case, concealed carry licensing case, which is really what that's about. I'm going to throw out some chicken bones and prognosticate for a minute on where I think it's going to go. First of all, some of you have tried to bust my balls and say that it's a conservative court, 6-3, and therefore it's going to happen. You can think that, but it'll probably go 5-4, and we'll see. We'll see. In terms of the decision. But what does that mean post-decision? Well, in my view, it will say to the state of New York, you must have a shall issue regimen. In other words, this thing where just cause has to go away, which will put the state of New York in a position to say, if we're going to have concealed carry, then it's going to have to be shall issue. Or the state could come back and say, there will not be concealed carry, which would then say it would force the state to go to open carry, and as the only way of carrying firearms. I don't think if the state of New York, if the legislature has its way, it's not going to, it'll be like what Florida and Texas was a few years ago. There was concealed carry only. But even if that's the case, the state of New York does not have a firearms law preemption. And then this nasty little thing came up in the discussion, in the arguments about sensitive places. In other words, where is it constitutional to restrict the carrying of guns to sensitive places? And there was some dialogue about what a sensitive place is. One side was saying, and this is the plaintiff side, was saying, well, a sensitive place might be something like a courthouse or a school or something like that. The liberal side of the court, or the defendant, was saying, well, a sensitive place is any place where there's a lot of people, right? Which would mean all public transportation, any large population city downtown. You see where I'm going with that? Now, let's say the city of New York said, well, you're not going to be able to carry, or the state says, the state doesn't have anything about sensitive places, but the city of New York could come back and say, we consider our subway system, our public transportation system, to be a sensitive place. Therefore, you cannot carry at all on public transportation. Well, heck, if you live in New York City where no one has a car for all intents and purposes, that means that you either walk or take a taxi to get wherever you want to go, because you wouldn't be able to use public transportation. I don't know about you, but the last time I was in New York City and walked down to the subway, I walked right back up. There's no way I'm riding on the subway unless I'm going to be armed. That is a dangerous environment. And then the argument that the New York City would have was, we have transit police. They have transit police in BART in San Francisco. The transit police are worthless. I don't care what city they're in. They're not, unless you're going to carry one on your belt, and then you have a cop with you all the time. Transit police are worthless. They are not able to protect someone or prevent someone from being hurt. They're only there to mark where the body is and gather any kind of evidence, even if the bad guy gets away. So there's no guarantee. There's no guarantee that because you have so-called transit police that somehow that's going to make the public transportation media, whether it's a subway or train or a bus or whatever, more safe. It's just not. So that's going to be the argument from cities like, from New York City or Manhattan. And by the way, Las Vegas had such an ordinance, and it has been removed now, where the Las Vegas said you can't carry in Las Vegas or in the county of where Las Vegas is. They tried to do that in Cook County in Chicago, and that got struck down because of preemption. So unless the state of New York institutes preemption with no exclusions for cities like New York, then what you will start to see is this argument of, well, it's too sensitive and we got too many people, and we're not going to allow carrying there. Now, if you're in a state like Colorado that had preemption, and then the legislature got rid of it, that was because of all those liberals in Boulder and Denver. So if you live in a state that has preemption, make damn sure that you are constantly inside your legislator's head saying, do not allow preemption to go away. Now, it might mean that maybe you have a state constitutional amendment that makes preemption, instead of a law, an amendment to the Constitution of the state. It says the Second Amendment is protected and preemptively protected by the Constitution of the state. Therefore, no city, county, municipality can change that. So that's where I think the fight is going to be next. It's going to be over this idea of sensitive places, which code word is really crowded with people, and we'll see where that goes. If you have any thoughts, please put them down below. If you like the content, subscribe, hit the bell icon. And as always, thanks for watching, and carry on.